big lousy parachutes.
Welcome to another Lone Wolfer Garage Moto Vlog. As always, I am your host, the Lone Wolfer, and I'm on my girl Bonnie, Belladina. And we are cruising home from work. So this is the home commute. And today, I wanted to actually talk about something a little more personal. Something that I have been thinking about and dealing with and considering for a very long time. When I was 5 years old, my biological father passed away. He was 41 years old and change. To be exact, he was 41 years, 4 months, and 19 days. I am right now 41 years and about 3 months and 19 days. I am fast approaching catching up to the exact amount of days that my father spent on this earth. And over the past decade, I have been considering that a great deal, as I have learned he and I genetically are very much alike. People often like to remind me how much I look like him, sound like him, act like him, have values concerning the people I surround myself with that were much like his, even though he was only in my life for a short period of time. But yeah, so my father, he was born on October 21st in 1944, and he passed away on March 11th of 1986. As I said, I was 5 years old and change. He had been sick for, he had been sick for longer than he admitted or wanted to admit. He was sick for basically my entire 5th year of life. He had a massive heart attack on my mom's birthday, and, had multiple heart surgeries, and then succumbed to heart disease, which sucks. And because I'm reminded all the time of how much I remind people of him, I have been extremely observant of my own health and trying to make sure that I don't succumb to an early death like my father did. When he was in his late 30s, probably 39 or so, according to my uncle, the doctors had told him that he needed to get, healthy, and he needed to stop smoking, he needed to stop working so much, he needed to work out, he needed to eat better, he needed to take blood pressure medication, all these different things. Since I was about 36, I've actually been on medication to control my blood pressure. It has been pretty much under control the entire time. Sometimes a little too much, and my blood pressure drops a bit, and that's always an interesting time. Of approaching the age of which my father passed has created a lot of anxiety in my life, and now getting even closer to it, literally being within 1 month, 30 days as of the recording of this video, my anxiety level is through the roof. I am working very hard to control that. Mitigate that, actually, is more the word. Controlling anxiety is that's a red herring. I don't believe that there's any controlling it. I believe there is accepting it, acknowledging it, and working with it. And by working with it, I mean, well, I work on projects, I try to work out as much as possible, I ride motorcycles, I talk to my wife, I talk to my sister, I actually acknowledge that I have the anxiety, and I face it. It's hard. Oftentimes I will find myself succumbing to other emotions that are easier to deal with, such as anger, instead of dealing with, oh, this is fun, and I just throwing shit all over the road. Literally pretty sure that's shit. It smells pretty bad, so pretty sure that's shit. But it is often easier to, act out in anger than it is to actually face the anxiety that has built up. I don't know where you're going. Oh, you've got a blinker going that way now. I'm going this way. Where the fuck was I? Oh yeah, talking about anxiety. Now sometimes it's easier to just, let everything out as anger, and that is not a good coping mechanism. But working on projects, being busy, spending time with my wife, talking to her, talking to my sister, being honest about my anxiety, and being honest about the fact that I'm not invincible, like my father thought he was. I listen to my doctors, I take my medication, I see my cardiologist as regularly as possible. I am now seeing a gastroenterologist because it seems I have a hiatal hernia, which actually may be, no, not maybe, it's definitely the actual reason that I discovered I had high blood pressure. I had a very uncomfortable feeling in my chest after an incident on the motorcycle where I went over basically what is a speed bump at 85 miles an hour on the highway in Brooklyn. And when I came down on the bike, I tensed up real hard and I had this terrible burning pain in my chest. And then I went to the ER and they're like, your blood pressure's through the roof. You're probably having a heart attack. And they're like, wait, you're not having a heart attack. Your blood pressure's just through the roof. All right, we're gonna put you on blood pressure medication. This is your life now. Medicated for blood pressure. I do take a statin for keeping my cholesterol down. Not so much because I actually have high cholesterol, but because I actually have low good cholesterol. I have never been able to meet the mark that they've said I needed to meet, like 50 or something like that. I'm always in the upper 30s for the good cholesterol. So they're like, let's just bring your bad cholesterol even further down and you'll be fine. It'll mitigate that. And I said, okay, let's do that. Again, I try to eat healthy. I work out. I'm a high school wrestling coach. I work out a lot with the kids during the season, and then I make sure that I work out a ton and actually film it a lot, just so I can prove to them that I'm still working out, just so they can't like bitch and moan about what I'm like, hey, are you doing that thing that we talked about, like lifting weights and running and continuing to work on your cardio and your musculature so that you can be better next year or meet the goals that specifically that you have set forth on yourself? Because I don't set forth goals for my my athletes to be winners. I want them to be better than they were yesterday. I don't care if they're better than other people. I want them to be better than themselves the previous day. That is the most important thing, I believe, as a coach. It might not be everybody's mentality as a coach. It might not be the best mentality to produce winners. But hey, guess what? We all die. Spoiler, we all die. And no one's gonna win. No one wins. You're just better than you were yesterday. Anywho, going back to the subject at hand, beating my father's high score for days survived through the magic of mathematics and using the internets. I have discovered that on November 10th, I will tie my father's score, his high score, his all-time score, not even just his high score, because it's his all-time score, for days survived. He lived for 15,116 days. So whatever minus 30 of that is, that's what today is. And then on November 11th, I will beat my father's high score for years survived. I'm not sure what that might do for my anxiety. I'm not sure if it'll do anything. It may make it worse. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see and hope I survive to that day. I've got a pretty bald tire right now on this here Dyna Switchback because I'm a dumbass and I keep putting off buying a new one. Even though I do like projects and I like to keep myself busy, during this highly anxious time of my life as I approach tying my father's high score for years survived, my wife and I decided to buy a house, and it's a bit of a fixer-upper. So there's all those projects that I got to do. My list is quite long, and yeah, the motorcycles have suffered a little bit because of how busy we were, not only looking for a house, but now having bought the house. But I think it actually helped keep my mind off of my anxiety and the feeling of impending dread that I sometimes have in the middle of the night when I wake up, when I feel like my heart has stopped and I can't breathe, and I gotta get up and I gotta walk around and I gotta, like, tinker with stuff and try to not make it too much noise because my wife is still sleeping. And then my cat wakes up and then she starts yelling because she's like, you're awake? I'm awake, feed me. feed me. It's a crapshoot, honestly, right now. But I'm alive, and I'm pretty confident that health-wise, I'm gonna beat my dad's high score for days survive. Just plain and simple. I'm gonna do that. But I do have the high blood pressure that I have to manage. I have to continue seeing the doctors. No matter how angry and frustrated and infuriated I get with just trying to make a goddamn appointment with a doctor. But yes, I'm seeing the doctor. I'm listening to them. I'm glad. It's nice to hear that, oh, hey, you're not going to die young. Oh, whatever's ailing you, it's not your heart. Figured out that I have a hiatal hernia, and I'm seeing a gastroenterologist, and no, that's what the discomfort is. I'm less anxious about, like, you know, it being a heart or a lung issue. I also saw whatever a breathing specialist is, and they were like, yeah, your lung capacity is like 130%. You're way above where you need to be at 40 years old for your lung capacity, and you know how your lungs actually handle O2 and oxygen and blah blah blah. It was nice getting that information as well, but I still get shortness of breath. I still believe that there's something going on that's causing that. That's not anxiety. That's because that's happening when I'm in the middle of, like, I don't know, working out, when I'm having fun. It's random. It's not just when I'm, like, you know, super anxious and freaking out, or, you know, when I'm being woken up in the middle of the night. Because sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night feeling like my heart's stopping and my breathing is fine. It's just very strange. Yeah, talking about health and physical health and mental health, it can be very draining. I am very tired right now after just talking about that. But it's good to talk about it. Men especially need to talk about their health. We need to have discussions about our physical health and our mental health. The whole concept of figuring all of this out actually stems from my distaste for saying happy birthday to people. I usually say congratulations on beating your high score for years survived, or I hope you had a wonderful start to a new trip around the sun. But the first one is what actually inspired my idea to actually talk about this stuff, not only with my wife and my sister and now all of you, but to also, like, actually, you know, figure out the exact amount of days that my father lived and learn more about him and his life. I've talked to my uncle a bunch now about my father's life. I know it makes him a little bit uncomfortable because they were very close. My uncle was 4 years older than my father, and they worked together until the day that my dad died. It's hard for him, it's hard for me, but it's good that we talk about it. You know, genetically, I'm very close to, you know, my uncle as well. I will probably one day look a lot like him because he looked a lot like my dad. My dad never made it to gray hair. My uncle has white hair, a white beard, and looks a lot like Kenny Rogers, which is a whole other story. And if you haven't seen the video on his 80th birthday, I will throw a link to that up here. But knowing more about your parents can be a good and a bad thing. And for me, it's mostly become a good thing. I mean, I know that the anxiety that I have as I approach, or as I have been approaching, because it's been pretty present for about a decade, isn't necessarily what I should be feeling, but it's what I am feeling. And here's a big thing that men have an issue with when it comes to their feelings. We're told for our whole lives we should feel one way. We should show our emotions one way. And we're told a whole lot of ways that we shouldn't show our emotions. Not supposed to cry, not supposed to, you know, be vulnerable, not supposed to, you know, be sad, not supposed to, you know, we're not supposed to get depressed. We're supposed to be strong. We're supposed to be like granite, like iron. We're supposed to be like Superman in all things. Well, guess what? That is not fucking realistic. Not even a little bit. And I'm a pretty tough guy in 30 days time. I will tie my father's score with the amount of days that he survived, the amount of days that he actually walked on this earth, the amount of time that he was conscious and breathing on this earth will be November 10th, 2021. And holy shit, could this have been a crazier fucking time with the pandemic also? About 7 months ago? 7 months ago? Back in February when I got sick, and I was just like, oh fuck, this is it. I'm not gonna beat my dad's high score. Holy shit, this is gonna fucking take me out. You know, I got shortness of breath going on. I got, you know, high blood pressure. You know, they were saying things about people who had AB positive blood having, you know, worse symptoms and more often were being hospitalized. I'm not sure if that's still true. I don't know if that data was just visually impressive for people to say or not, but it might have been. I know that all the O people in my life, my wife, my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, they all, no, is my sister-in-law O? Or is that my other brother-in-law? I don't know. A bunch of people on my wife's side have O, something positive or negative or whatever. And all of them had COVID and it was mild as fuck. My wife was doing yoga by the, you know, like 7th day, and she was like basically fine. I thought I was gonna die. Not just like, oh, I'm a big giant wussy man. No, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't walk. My blood oxygen level was down in the 80s. It sucked. It sucked a whole lot. And I was really worried. My anxiety level was, wow, that was through the roof. This is crazy thinking about that right now. But yeah, so it's crazy that, you know, I'm approaching this record my father set during a pandemic after getting COVID-19, dealing with a hiatal hernia, blood pressure, shortness of breath, you know, all the aches and pains of being a 41-year-old man who has done full contact sports, wrestling, rugby, his whole life, way too much fighting, because I was a dumbass in my 20s and I fought way too much. Didn't help that I became a bouncer and was basically paid to fight people. Got some anxiety as I approached this milestone day, and then the milestone birthday for me. You know, everyone has, you know, 21, 30, 40, 50, 60, those are milestone birthdays. I could have given a shit about 21. I don't drink, never have, didn't care. 30 was interesting. You know, I spent it on top of a mountain outside of Las Vegas, hiking up to the top, eating alligator jerky. 40 was in the middle of a pandemic, and you know, I spent it up in the White Mountains as I usually do. And then now I'm approaching 42. And 42, even before I really put together the whole thing about my father not making it that far, there's the whole Douglas Adams Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy answer to everything being 42.
Yes. 42.
And I've always thought 42 would be the better time to have a celebration, or not even really have a celebration, because I don't really give a shit about that, but to actually acknowledge that I've hit something special. Maybe in the back of my mind, subconsciously, I knew that 42 was a big deal, and I was basically just kind of like ignoring it, and my lower mammalian brain was trying to cope with it, or maybe my frontal lobe was trying to cope with it by not acknowledging that was how, you know, that my father didn't even make it that far. Not how old he was. He didn't make it to 42. That's the thing. He didn't make it to 42. And I might. Most likely will. I don't really see, I don't see anything happening from now until June of next year. Unless my rear tire stops working properly and doesn't grip the road, because it's bald as shit. As I go 50 miles an hour around this curve. Oh, I am dumb. Dumb. I'm gonna slow it down, bring it down to 40. I think the speed limit was 40 or 45. We'll get back on the side of the law. Be on Johnny Law's good side ish. I did have a conversation with my wife that if she felt the need to throw me a milestone birthday. 42 would be her chance. Outside of that, I don't want a party. I don't want gifts. I don't like getting gifts, really, because a lot of people get me crap I don't want and I don't need, and it just sits around collecting dust until I have to like get rid of it, and that gives me anxiety. Honestly, that gives me anxiety, having to get rid of crap that people have left for me. I don't want to have to get rid of stuff that people have left for me. I don't have to call it crap. I think if something reminds someone of me, I'm happy, I'm glad. I wish they would just kind of like bask in that moment for just a few seconds and be like, yeah, this reminds me of Wolfer. Let me think about him for a minute. They don't need to get me the thing. I don't need the thing. I don't want the thing. I like people's time. I want people's time when they can give it to me. Time is the most precious thing we have, and I think that's kind of the point of this entire vlog, this entire rant I just went on. I hope people understand why I'm talking about this way. I hope that people haven't tuned out already. I hope that they maybe think about themselves and their own health, think that they should maybe consider speaking to someone if they're having certain kind of thoughts that they're not comfortable with, if they're having anxiety that they don't understand. I think it's important that I do this not only for me, but you know, one of the big reasons I do these vlogs is that so people who know me can see some of the things that I think, you know, out there in the open. They can watch my videos. They can be like, yeah, Wolfer's talking about this subject. It's something that's interesting to him. He enjoys it, or it's something that he needs to speak about, such as my anxiety and my feelings about having lost my father when I was 5 years old and growing up with that on my shoulders and always kind of in the back of my head. And subconsciously, you know, after I read Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that 42 was kind of an important number in my world.
42.
But again, I hope you guys stuck around for this one. I'd love to hear down in the comments below your thoughts on everything I have discussed in this vlog. But anyway, if you like this one, give it a big old thumbs up. If you don't, keep on trucking. Rock on.